Alright, so the instruction here is to convert, be sure to maintain the number of significant digits. If we want to go from 4.3 yards to some number of meters, I'm going to use this conversion up here. Yards to meters, it looks like 1 yard is exactly 0.9144 meters. So 4.3 yards times, yards on the bottom and meters on the top. Oops, M, just M. And let me look to see what it was again, because I forget. 0.9144 meters. 0.9144 meters is 1 yard. Alright, so the yards will cancel. We'll end up with 4.3 times 0.9144, and we end up with 3.93192 equals 3.93192. What is this, meters? But we say this says to maintain the number of significant digits, so we need to round this off to 2 significant digits. That's 2, so this one needs to be 2 significant digits. We get 3.9. 4.3 yards is 3.9 meters. Alright, we want to go from inches to millimeters. 2.5 inches, 2.50 inches, sorry. This actually has 3 significant digits of accuracy. I've gotten used to just kind of ignoring that, apparently. So 2.50 inches. We're going from inches to millimeters. I'm actually going to, looking at this list, I'm going to go from inches to centimeters, and then from centimeters to millimeters. I happen to know that there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter. You could go through meters as well if you don't know that one offhand. Alright, so we'll go from inches to centimeters, and then I'll go from centimeters to millimeters. Or, like I said, you could go from centimeters to meters and then meters to millimeters, but this is just a little quicker. Alright, let's fill in the numbers. There's 2.54 centimeters in 1 inch, and there's 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. So, multiplying these together, 2.50 times 2.54 times 10. Now, you may be looking at these and saying, oh, this 10 only has 1 significant digit. But when we're dealing with exact numbers, when we're dealing with these definitions, these don't restrict the number of significant digits in any way. We essentially say this is an infinite number of significant digits. It's exact. And this one also, 2.54 is exact. It's not 3 decimal points of accuracy. It's infinite numbers of decimal points of accuracy. This 2.50 is not a definition. This is a measurement number. And so that's why this one is 3 decimal points of accuracy. And it looks like our final answer here also has 3, so I'm not going to have to round it all. We get 63.5 millimeters. I don't have to round that at all. This is actually exact. 2.50 inches is exactly 63.5 millimeters. Alright, so when we're talking about the metric system, we have other base units that we deal with. Mass in metric system. There's often some confusion between what mass is versus what weight is, because, again, the U.S. system of measurements, we conflate. We use pounds for both mass and weight, and it just gets confusing, especially when you start to do actual physics and stuff like that. And so you don't have that same sort of issue with the metric system. But in any case, you can measure mass in the metric system with grams, and therefore you have things like kilograms, which is commonly used. I haven't really ever seen centigrams or any of those, but technically they exist because this is the metric system. You can use those prefixes on all of these. As far as area, the base unit is called a hectare, and this is just for reference. It's 2.47 acres approximately. But how a hectare is gathered is it's 100 meters by 100 meters. So the actual measurement of a hectare makes a lot more sense than the measurement of an acre in the U.S. system, because the measurement of an acre in a U.S. system, I think it's, 160 rods, which is 40 rods by 4 rods, or, I don't know, you can divide it up in a number of ways, but you can't really get a nice square out of it, versus a hectare, it's 100 meters squared. 100 meters by 100 meters. A square plot of land would be a hectare there. In any case, the volume, typical volume in the metric system we use is liters. You might have deciliters, or milliliters is actually a very common one you'll end up seeing. There's a nice conversion. You can see a useful metric conversion. Cubic centimeters is one way to measure a volume, and a milliliter is another way to measure a volume. And it turns out they are defined to be the exact same thing. If you have 1 milliliter, it's the exact same thing as 1 cubic centimeter. In medicine, oftentimes they deal a lot with cubic centimeters, and they usually abbreviate it cc's. So 1 cc of this thing is 1 cubic centimeter, or 1 milliliter. All right, so the as far as conversions that will be necessary on your test, you'll need to know this this list up here. See if I can pull it up again. This one up here. You'll need to know this list, at least a few of the prefixes. You need to know the centi, milli, killi prefixes. Those ones right there you'll need to know. I don't know, I won't really go much more than that. Mega, giga, tera. You do see actually mega, giga, tera when we're talking about computers. You talk about megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, and so on. Although those technically aren't metric either. They're a little bit weird. But that's something else. Alright, so in any case, if there are other unit conversions, any beyond, I kind of consider a few to be fairly standard. Knowing how many inches in a foot, knowing how many seconds in a minute, minutes in an hour, hours in a day. These are things I expect everyone to know. I don't even really know that they're worth mentioning, other than hoping alleviate your any anxiety you have about not having the right units written down. Also, if you do need to look up units, you do have access to your notes, so you might have you might print out the well, actually, you might write down a few unit conversions, but you know, like I said, if it's anything beyond the very standard ones, I will provide them in the question.